one persona very well known in Germany and German history, General Clausewitz, once said that the war is a continuation of politics by other means. And I think that Vladimir Putin understood his words very, very well. And when we speak of war, we usually mean armed conflict, battlefield, what is going on in Ukraine, and that's correct. But these other means are also very, very important. And the war in Ukraine is not only the battlefield, the cruelties which were shown to us yet again by Denis a minute ago, but also other fields which we sometimes forget about, like cyberspace, like Russian propaganda and fake news, or on the field of economy. Putin tailors his battle tactics to the opponent in question. He could not conquer Europe militarily if he didn't first defeat it economically. So today, Ukraine is fighting for its independence and the protection of our borders and our security as well. But the real struggle for European sovereignty is also taking place elsewhere on this economic and natural resources related battlefield. We often talk about Europe's dependence on Russian raw materials, and indeed Russia has behaved like a drug dealer who gives his first dose for free because he knows that the addict will come later on and will pay very dearly for next doses. Today, it is not enough to talk about the reconstruction of Ukraine and reconstruction of Europe. It's more than that. We have to talk about reshaping of Europe and European policies like energy policy and climate policy as well. I remember in the early 90s, Bill Clinton once said, "It's the economy, stupid." It was the time when we all believed that money will solve all the issues and it's enough to focus exclusively on economy. Now the struggle in Ukraine, the battle for freedom in Ukraine has awakened all of us to the other perspective, geopolitical perspective. The situation in Ukraine has awakened all of us from this geopolitical slumber. In a perfect market, the cheapest solutions are usually chosen, but perfect markets are usually only in outdated economic textbooks. In real markets, the cheapest solution often comes with hidden price, and cooperation between Europe and Russia seemed cheap and effective until Putin built it accordingly. It was supposed to be only gas contracts, but it turned out that Europe signed a pact for its very soul. From a Russian point of view, Vladimir Putin made a mistake, in my opinion, when he attacked Ukraine. From the Russian point of view, I emphasize this, because I'm sure he would have won the war against Europe, or he could have had higher chances to win the war against Europe, had he first continued to make it more dependent, to make Europe more dependent. The heroic struggle of the Ukrainian people has not only saved Ukraine itself, but it has also awakened many countries from our geopolitical slumber, or from their geopolitical slumber. For at least two reasons, Ukraine should be supported militarily and financially. And please bear in mind also this second component. I speak about this very, very often with Denis and with President Zelensky. Financial support, indeed, as President von der Leyen emphasized, is critically important, not only for the next couple of months, but also for the entire 2023, to show that we are determined enough to support Ukraine. Therefore, I'm going to thank Ursula, but also Kristalina, who is with us, and Werner and the other institutions, so EIB, International Monetary Fund, and other international institutions who are aware of this, that we have to collectively gather 3 to 5 billion euros per month to give hope for Ukraine that they are not going to be left alone. Secondly, the struggle, the fight in Ukraine is important because supporting Ukraine is the best guarantee for our own security and for securing peace for decades to come. Anyone who does not support Ukraine today has either betrayed our values of our civilization, or is fooled by Russia, or sometimes both. Or sometimes it's the Russian propaganda, of course, which is so successful, as I indicated at the beginning. Victory in the fight against Russia is closer not only thanks to the series of military successes of the Ukrainian army, not only because the Russian bear is tired of sanctions, and sanctions packages are beginning to work more and more effectively, but also because of the large part of Western world has shown determination and tenacity. And in order to win the war against Russia, we must build completely new security architecture as well in the political and economic dimension. First, the economic reconstruction of Ukraine is a crucial condition for Europe's safety. Ukraine is our stronghold today, and investment in strengthening it is our duty in a moral sense and in terms of real hard politics. At the same time, reconstruction must mean transformation. We must be guided by the principle, build back better. Secondly, we must make sure that the offender pays for reconstruction. Russia should pay Ukraine war damages, war reparations. Too many times over the course of history we saw that the aggressors avoided consequences, avoided responsibility. And it was not mentioned today, so I'm going to emphasize that there is a huge pot of gold to be taken and dedicated for Ukraine's reconstruction, which is Russian assets of Russia Federation and Russian oligarchs. They are frozen in Switzerland and in many other countries all over Europe and the globe. But freezing means really not too much. Frozen assets can increase in value in several years or in 2 years' time. They have to be confiscated, and the money should be dedicated for reconstruction of Ukraine. Thirdly, we must vigorously carry on working on the process of Ukraine's integration in the EU. This is critically important. For peace has its price, so it's time to stop deluding ourselves that we will remain safe without investing in defense. Poland is dedicating 3 percentage points of our GDP on defense, and we are going to increase this amount of money even further. And the fifth point is the time for a great reorientation of energy policy. That's probably for another conference, but I'm going to signal this as well. The truth is we have no choice. Either we make the effort that independence requires, or we will pay for freedom with blood. When it comes to military support, Poland is proportionately the second largest donor of the Ukrainian army. We allocated almost 1 percentage point of our GDP to support Ukraine financially, humanitarian help, and from the point of military support, weapon delivery. So let me conclude with some final remarks. The policy of appeasing Russia is bankrupt, and everyone who is still trying to enact it drags Europe down. There are no errors then that cannot be repaired. When I hear Madame von der Leyen say that our government, Poland, was right about Russia and Ukraine, I feel a sense of satisfaction. But I would forgo any sense of a feeling of satisfaction for the European impetus to act. This is critically important. Europe is much stronger than Russia, but the fact that it has not been able to stop Putin yet only proves that it is, to some extent, or it was, a paper tiger. We have to strengthen lots of our policies to really overwhelm the difficulties which we are confronted with. If we do not win the war with Russia, we risk more than just losing Ukraine and its security. We risk marginalizing the entire continent. The world only deals with strong players. Europe must prove its strength. It is our to be or not to be moment. Thank you very much.